I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes. Okay. Now Dhruval has one question. Dhruval, please ask your question.
Hello, sir. Dhruval this side.
Go.
Sir, the example where you gave about Israel. So, like, because we all know that this is kind of a research internship. Not exactly a research one, but a semi-research, if we want to be correct.
No, it's your choice whether you want it to be a research internship, do you want it to be an implementation internship, or do you want it to be a research internship? It's your call.
Dhruval, you
Yes.
can. It's depends on you what you want. It is not a research internship particularly. There are many projects with Karshi, so you can, I think, opt from them
Mhm.
according to your interest.
યસ મેમ એટલે મારો કહેવાનો મતલબ એવો જ છે બટ લાઈક આપણે આને થોડુંક રિસર્ચ સાઈડ પણ લઈ જઈ શકીએ છીએ ને સો would that be a cause of concern for you sir like
No, we would actually welcome that.
okay sir
Okay.
because like research must like for especially for students like us who are like very young and because we are constrained by a lot of things especially our age and our knowledge so both of those things might result in a failure so like would that be a cause of concern for the institution or the organization.
Wipro, take this. So, my PhD thesis professor told me a very simple thing. Okay, if your PhD proves that the track that you have taken is not possible, even that is a valid PhD thesis subject, because what you are doing is you are showing people who are going to follow you not to take the path. તમે સમજો છો? So when you are doing research on a particular subject using a particular technique, following a particular process, you may get success in terms of um the goals that you wanted to achieve, or you may not get, you may get some other goal. But the very fact that somebody has gone down that path is available to people coming in the future to choose a different path or take that path with a different technique or whatever. You understand? So please understand one thing. I mean, in research, there is no failure. People who go about saying about research क्या सक्सेस થયું ના failure થયું is not correct. I'll give you one example. So I had a friend of mine, he was working for Raytheon, and at that time the AIM-9 Sidewinder, which is basically a thermal infrared imaging sensor to look down and shoot down, latch on and shoot down fighter planes. And this was in early 90s, and the AIM-9 Sidewinder basically was getting foxed with something called flares. So in those days, he came out with the idea that why don't I use an infrared imaging sensor to identify if that infrared source is a flare or an aircraft engine, and then retarget it onto the proper thing. This is 94 through 98. He worked very hard on it, but there were certain constraints because the kind of imaging sensor that he was looking for, um, he could not get it at the size that was required for the missile. And of course, he had to cool the sensor, nitrogen cooling. You can't have that on the missile. So they put in a lot of money, a lot of research was done, and nothing came out of it. But the manager at Raytheon, what he did was he took all that research and he's converted that into a commercial endoscopy thermal imaging camera. And that business, that same research was used in biomedical field because cancer cells tend to be slightly more hotter than normal cells. And the nice thing about heat infrared is it travels through 5 mm to 10 mm of muscle and sinew. So This guy's camera is now used to identify cancer which is anywhere around the intestinal area. Huge thing. Okay. इससे पहले you had to do X-rays, then you had to cut up, do a biopsy, and then you identified. Not anymore. The nice thing is that whatever research he has done, the sensors became small in around 2010, and AIM-9 now has whatever the research was done in early 90s. So see, following a path on research is great, excellent. Lot of times you will not get the result because the technology to use that to exploit that basic knowledge does not exist or is not viable commercially. So the point is research is not lost. So don't ever look at research as failure and success. Look at research as, is it viable at this point or is this not viable? Okay. But research basically means that you extended the knowledge of the society in at large in a particular way. See, there's a lot of research that happens in the world today, which is peer review and validation research. So if somebody has already done it, there are others who will try to replicate it for peer review, and there are other people who will try to validate it. So it's a huge field. So don't get constrained ke avuj thase ke avuj nahi thai. All right, you have a research subject, come to us. If we can't help you, I will tell you who else will be able to help you. Like I've got excellent connect with some universities in Bombay, in Chennai, in Bangalore, where professors are looking for people outside their colleges to do a lot of their research, and they are ready to collaborate with people with research ideas also. Okay.
Sir, I am interested primarily on those things, like those areas, and like whatever is required for that particular research, I'll match up with their expectations.
No, but then you have to be very specific. What do you want to do? Which part of research do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like, are you looking at language semantics? Are you looking at controls? Are you looking at pure mathematics?
Sir, like the example that you gave was pretty much my field, defense, possibly. Because
Sure.
the example that you gave.
Defense, there are different layers in defense. Okay. So you have to be very specific which particular part of defense you are interested in. For example, Mama Moko, right? So one of the customers that I'm looking for in Mama Moko is L&T. We are already talking with them. They are looking for very low cost autonomous control systems. Today, most of the autonomous control systems that Indian companies are using are not made in India. So
that also creates one bigger issue. Like, sorry to cut you down, but like what I have seen is like say sensor fusion Tesla no US ma chale ne, those might not work possibly in India because we are, like, let's be honest, we are a law enforcement deficit country.
No, that is not the thing. See, sensor fusion has nothing to do with command and control. So sensor fusion is the ability to take multiple sensors and coordinate it to one decision platform. Okay. What you do with that is a different thing. So for example, Tesla, they have sensor fusion number one, but they also have quote unquote the AI. Now, if you look at Tesla's AI, it is not artificial intelligence. હવે એક સિમ્પલ એક્ઝામ્પલ કહું કે તમે યુએસએમાં ગાડી ચલાવો છો અને તમે અમદાવાદમાં એ ડ્રાઈવરને રાખશો ને તો સપોઝ એને બેઝિકલી ગાડી ચલાવવા આવડે છે, he will take maybe around 10-15 days, but he will start driving the car in Ahmedabad also. Okay. If you take a Tesla vehicle and તમે અમદાવાદમાં લાઈને રાખી દેશો તો ગાડી હલવાની જ નથી અને 1000 વર્ષો સુધી હલશે નહીં. Because see, Tesla does not use artificial intelligence. I seriously don't know of a single case they are using artificial intelligence. What they are basically doing is they are using a very narrow, very optimized algorithm for driving the car. Okay, that is not artificial intelligence. True artificial intelligence is if that software drives the car, then goes to the office, writes code, then goes to handles two kids, and then goes and listens to Rakjak from somewhere else and handles all of this. That would be artificial intelligence. So sensor fusion is one thing, and the ability to take the fuse sensor information and act on it is a second thing. Okay. So yeah, if you are interested in sensor fusion, there's a lot of sensor fusion things that are happening, and sensor fusion basically is falling into what is called as um, contained sensor fusion and distributed sensor fusion. So basically, what would happen is a single drone controlling that single drone would be a contained uh, sensor fusion because it is one entity. But let us say if you have the sensors of multiple drones working as a swarm, that is a distributed sensor fusion. So you have to decide where you want to work it. ફિલ્ડ તો બહુ હ્યુજ છે, લોગો જ નથી એમાં કામ કરવા માટે, એટલું તમને કહી દો.
Right, sir. So I think Dhruval, your query is.
Have I answered your question?
Sorry, sir.
I was asking before, have I answered my query?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there any other query from students?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I have a query. Like one of my friend asked, like, what is the main purpose of the Mama Coco project?
Okay, so main purpose એવું છે કે open source it ideally will produce two set of skill sets. One is people who understand how to code and deliver different components of, say, an autonomous vehicle control. And second is we have a lot of small designs available for different parts of that vehicle control, which can then be used by Indian universities and Indian companies. These are the two goals of that. Now that autonomous vehicle can be like an undersea vehicle, it can be a small boat, it can be a drone, it can be a self-driving vehicle, it can be an externally controlled vehicle, can be at various stages.
Okay, sir.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, when will internship start? How will be the schedule and how will be the flow of study and the actual work?
So internship will start when you want to start it, and schedule is we are expecting you to put in 2 to 4 hours per week, and we want you to do it at your pace, and there is no exam at the end. From Ekarshi, we will just be evaluating whether you have gotten to a particular skill set, and you have got to a particular skill set, we will take you to the next skill set, and when you are ready to go into an industry, we will recommend you and we will actively promote to attaching you to that industry or research or whatever. So Parth, here we are looking for people. હું તમને એક બહુ સિમ્પલ વસ્તુ કરું કે તમે જે ચા કેટલી ઉપર બેસીને કોલેજ પછી ફાંફા મારો છો ને, એ મારે બંધ કરાવવાનું છે. તમે એ કરવા ચાહો તો કરો, but put in 2 hours on doing something that is towards your end, goals in terms of professional goals.
Thank you, sir.
One has a question. One.
Yes, sir. Regarding the Open Abet project, sir, are we going to re-implement the deep learning libraries that are preemptively made?
What do you mean by preemptively made? Previously made.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. હું તમને એક સિમ્પલ એક્ઝામ્પલ આપું કે તમે છે ને આજે તમારું ક્લસ્ટરિંગ લાઇબ્રેરી ડાઉનલોડ કરો ઇઝરાયલથી, ઓકે, યુઝિંગ એન ઇઝરાયલ આઈપી, and download that same thing with an Indian IP and then run your data, large data on both the libraries. You will get different results. समझो છો?
Yes, sir.
You go to any company, China or Taiwan or Japan or Germany, they will not use these open source libraries. Because what has happened in most of these cases is their government has downloaded the libraries, they have gone through the libraries, they have cleaned it up and then made it available to the industry. Okay. So, see, please understand one thing. There are a lot of barriers that have been created for technology decimation by people who have created these, right? Like, for example, I'm also creating a very strong barrier. હું શું બેરિયર ઊભું કરું છું કે જે વસ્તુ બનશે ને એ I will exclusively give it to Indian companies and Indian universities. સમજો છો? Please understand. Do you notice something? I'm not saying I'll give it to Indian people, persons. You understand? Because when an Indian person will come to me, ke boss, mare aa vastu જોઈએ, I will tell you become an intern of Ekashji first. I will evaluate to see that he is actually an Indian person before I disseminate this information to him. Are you getting it? What is my goal in this is to cut down 3 things. The time it takes for an Indian company that is a commercial enterprise, which can be a proprietary company, it can be a partnership, private limited company, whatever that, or an Indian university to use the libraries and to build on the libraries. Okay. હવે એક સિમ્પલ તમને એક્ઝામ્પલ આપું. In Germany, મારે suppose clustering કરવું છે. So when I go to Fraunhofer Institute and say, listen, I want to do clustering, they will not give you clustering algorithms. They will also give you a list of 50 other people in your area who have already used the algorithm before. So instead of you trying to reinvent the wheel, you go to those guys and say, boss, mare aa karu che, can you do this small project and deliver the entire source code? The normal answer is a yes. And see, in the end, what is our goal over here? I want to deliver 2 things: people who are trained for the industry and products that can be used by the industry very fast. Okay. I mean, I don't want a person, company to hire you and then train you 6 months before they get to be able to, get your skill sets out of you. Or I don't want them to pick up a project and then do some R&D for 6 months and then come back, okay, હવે design તૈયાર થયો. મારે જે સ્ટાર્ટિંગ પોઈન્ટ છે ને એ એકદમ ફાસ્ટ કરી દેવું છે. ઓકે.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Henel has some question.
Yeah,
No, ma'am, પેલું લાઇસન્સિંગ વિશે જ હતું પણ લાસ્ટમાં સરે કહી દીધું.
Okay. Sir, I want to know, like, they are done with their exams, final exams. Now, how will they be assigned projects to whom they have to report?
So what I'm going to do is, today is literally the second day we are doing 50-50, okay? So what I'm going to start doing in the next 3 to 4 days, Sapan, I and Meenakshi and Krunal, what we will do is we will be doing a one-to-one interview with each of these students. All right?
Okay.
Because my goal is to understand where they are going with it, And see, I don't want to like throw them into a project without understanding what. Joe, again, let me explain. I want this to be a hobby, right? And traditionally, hobby is something that people like to do. તો મારે મને ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ મામા મુકમાં 25 જણ જોઈએ અને ઓપન એવાર્ડમાં એક જ જણ જોઈએ અને હું કરું કે ભાઈ 25 ને તો અહીંયા નાખી જ દો ને એકને અહીંયા નાખો, it is not going to work out. Okay, my goal is very simple. I will be doing a 1-2 based on that list of students. We will do a second round where we will do a project allocation, and then they will start working on this.
Okay. So, sir, you are going to send us schedule for the interviews.
We will. તમે એકવાર તમે મને લિસ્ટ મૂકી
List,
આપો ને.
final list. Yes, yes.
કે પહેલા આ લોકોને પૂછો કે how many people want to get involved અને એ લોકોનું પ્રેફરન્સ શું છે. Do they want to be in that Mama Moko or Open ABAD?
Okay.
We have other spin-offs from Mama Moko also. So basically તમે Mama Moko ને જોશો ને તો it is basically microcontroller based. Open ABAD is mostly software based, right?
Yeah.
So we have had a lot of queries that have come to us from biomedical side also. Okay, you create like an internship for biomedical also. So people who are in Mama Moko, they will become trained on microcontrollers. So maybe if the biomedical is there, they can split off from there and go into my biomedical. So that is how we want to head off. So going C, then Arduino, then an industrial controller, Aje path છે ને, that will empower them not only to go on this, but they can go to other embedded systems also. Like કોઈને IoT ની interest છે, so we are going to do an IoT also.
Yes, sir.
And IoT માં અમારું એવું goal નથી કે તમને we take an IoT platform from outside and તમે એમાં call કરીને Google ને call કરી દીધો hello world થઈ ગયું. No, sorry. We will explain you what the embedded microcontroller is, how it communicates with the rest of the world. We also have modules available with us, so they will learn how to get Arduino to talk to the module and vice versa. And then they will learn about TLS. And where I'm using the word TLS, not just libraries, how TLS actually works. They'll code TLS themselves. Like અત્યારે we have a girl, Jalpa Nakum. You know what she is doing? She's actually coding AES and SHA 128, SHA 256. She's coding it in C right now.
Okay.
Because see, without the encryption algorithms, you cannot have SSL and TLS. Okay? અત્યારે બધા શું કરે છે? Open SSL લઈ લીધો. But
Sir, your voice is breaking sometimes.
आवाज नहीं आ रही है? एक मिनट.
Now it is coming, but sometimes it breaks.
Yeah, I'm on the Wi-Fi, so maybe I don't know. So my thing is that in 5 years' time, don't be surprised if Indian industry is looking for people who know the basics. Okay.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
I'll tell you one another thing that we are associated with is we are associated with IIT Chennai and a company called Incore Semi. So Tectona is part of that group of companies that is working with Incore Semi to develop India's first microprocessor, commercial microprocessor. It's called the Shakti. So there are different versions of Shakti coming out. Tectona is responsible for defining a particular version of Shakti that will be commercial IoT control side. Okay. And one of the biggest problems that we are going to face in about 2 years' time is actually people who understand the libraries. So these libraries can be migrated or redone for Shakti. Okay. And Bharat Electronics Limited is looking at close to about 3,000 people for this. અત્યારે પૂરા ઇન્ડિયામાં 50 પણ નથી આ કામ કરવા માટે. There is a huge demand that is coming, and that will come with the introduction of new platforms. There's a huge chance, possibility that x86 will be relegated to the past. ARM and RISC-V are the new upcoming architectures. Whenever a new architecture comes in, everybody puts in a lot of effort for migration and redoing technology. So yes, there's going to be a huge demand for people who know the basics. All right. And when I'm using the word basics, let's put it this way. If you know things like PHP and all that, that's not basics, okay? Basics is your ability. Basics is your ability to build firmware. And India, mana, unfortunately, is we are way behind. Okay.
Okay, sir. So I'll take the options from these registrations of these students for OpenAPAD or Momo. I forgot the name every time. But so I take the final. I will give the final list to you, and then afterwards you will send me the schedule with their interviews for their interviews. I'll give you the final list by day end or by tomorrow.
Do it at your convenience. I mean, we have no issues.
Okay. Yes,
sir,
Okay, I think somebody raised their hand. I think Google or something.
હા સર સર તમારી ઓર્ગેનાઇઝેશનમાંથી કોઈકનો કોન્ટેક્ટ નંબર ફોર ધ પર્સન ઓફ કોન્ટેક્ટ લાઈક આ જે તમે જે કીધું છે ને that is exactly even my thought process because what like do you want me to go in or
You want a contact number to do what?
for now, if you have any doubt, please ask me. I will convey your doubt to
નહીં નહીં
sir.
ડાઉટ્સ નથી લાઈક આને આજ પ્રોબ્લેમ્સ લાઈક આને આજ
Yes,
How do
in
you-
the interview, you can discuss these things with sir. Okay, so in interview,
No,
they will be able to answer you.
Well, in the interview, I will see that 2 persons take your interview. There will be Krunal Vaderia will take your interview and Sapan Shah will take your interview. Both of them are technically very strong in this particular matter. And there's a third person, Meenakshi Vasawa. Actually, I will see that all 3 of them take your interview. All right? And all 3 are very, very, very sharp and they understand the technicalities at various levels. તમારે જે પ્રશ્ન પૂછવું હોય ને એ લોકોને પૂછજો તમે.
નહીં નહીં સર ટેકનિકાલિટીઝમાં તો એવું કશું નથી લાઈક મારો મેં એક જગ્યાએ આ જ વસ્તુ સાંભળી હતી કે લાઈક ઇન્ડિયામાં આપણે જે આઈટી ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી ઊભી કરી રહ્યા છે ને એક તો ઇટ ઇઝ સોફ્ટવેર બેસ્ડ ઇટ ઇઝ નોટ હાર્ડવેર બેસ્ડ સો ગમે તે હશે વી વુડ એટ ધ એન્ડ ઓફ ધ ડે વી વુડ હેવ ટુ કોન્ટેક્ટ ચાઇના ફોર અર હાર્ડવેર એન્ડ સેકન્ડલી જે તમે કીધું ને કે that we are generating people who are only or we are producing people who are only who have mastery in APIs and not the in-depth knowledge. So that is exactly what I had heard in one of the interviews. He was a very